Hey everyone, this is Founders365, episode 16, and today we have Mr. Luke Thomas from the lovely city of Cardiff, and he is founder of Evolution Kickboxing Academy. Been going for a year, so welcome to the show, Luke. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, man. I'm really good, thank you. Good.
Good man, good man. So, as always, first question I always like to ask is, tell me about Evolution Kickboxing Academy, because you've been going a year. So this is going to be a really good conversation in terms of like the earlier stage business people and what you've learned as well. So let's jump straight into it in terms of how you actually got started in creating this facility out there.
Cool. So when I was in my second year of university, I was asked to coach the kickboxing club there, which is something I just done as a hobby on the side. And turns out I got pretty good at it. So we had quite a few national champions. The club grew massively, and I was coming up to the end of my degree, and I knew that I didn't want to work for anyone. I'd worked since I was 15, before school, after, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to work for anyone, so I thought, well, what can I do? And I knew I could teach kickboxing. And so, long story short, I took out a £15,000 loan, moved to Cardiff to do my master's degree, took a 3-year lease on a random unit, and here we are.
Wow.
That's kind of it.
I love that when people go, I took a loan, and it's like, that means you like properly backed yourself with it then.
Yeah. A very scary situation to start with.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because so did you finish uni in the end, or did you stop uni?
Yeah. So I've got an undergrad in computer science and a master's in business strategy.
Oh, good. So you finish uni, jump straight into owning a gym, right? For what, 23?
Yeah. So I'd done it at the same time as the masters.
Yeah.
The thought process was that the student loan would pay my personal rent for the year.
Yeah.
So that I could run the gym.
Dude, smart guy. Talk to me about some of the struggles that you had as a 23-year-old gym owner, starting out, because most people will be like, oh, I'm going to go work for a gym, I'm going to have a couple of years in that, but you've just gone, you know what, I'm backing myself, I'm doing it. And so talk to me about that.
I think the naivety that I had when I started was real. So I created the website. We put a really, really good offer, and I thought, jobs and people are just going to turn up.
Yeah.
And the first month, big launch, and a total of 6 people turned up.
Yeah.
3 of them were my friends. And so I was like, right, okay. And 2 weeks later, it was the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
The rent was going out, the money was going out, nothing was coming in. And that's when I thought, okay, something's going to change. So that was a really scary period, because I just tied into this 3-year lease.
Yeah.
I took out this loan that was a personal loan. And that's when it was, okay, it's time to do something now.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do? 6 weeks on, no one's coming through the door. What changes did you make to get this a profitable business?
So the first thing I did was really went heavily on the advertising. I didn't know what the word copywriting meant. I didn't know what how you marketed things, how you advertise stuff. But I decided to go for Facebook ads, because people were they were the cool thing at the time, and everyone was talking about them. And thankfully, they worked out really well. I spent about £5,000 on Facebook ads in the first 2 months.
Yeah.
And that was a huge learning curve, and that allowed me to then work them a bit better and get people in.
Mm-hmm. And is that still your strategy now?
Yeah, we still do it now. Thankfully, we're in a position where we actually make the money back before Facebook sends us the bill, as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, I suppose chasing it out. But what was that like? In terms of your belief in yourself, 6 weeks in, like you said, all that money's coming out, you're looking at your bank balance, and you've got the 15 grand coming in like 2 months before, and just constant outgoing. Did that motivate you, or did you have those times where you're just like, oh my God, it's all not gonna work?
It was definitely motivational. I'm one of those individuals who, if my back's against the wall, I tend to perform better, and I think a lot of us are.
Yeah.
Which is, it's kind of a shame, really, because if we could be like that in normal situations, life would be a lot easier, but we're not.
Exactly.
So for me personally, I prefer working that way. It's not something you can maintain and do forever,
mm-hmm.
but I think that when push comes to shove, it can work really well.
Yeah. And for you, why did you want to start this business? Why did you want to go down the route of having your own facility, building your own brand from scratch? No one knew you. Like you said, you just got a random unit. I hope hopefully in a fairly good location. But why did you want to do that? Why was that important for you?
I wanted to, it's a twofold answer really. I wanted to start working for myself, like I said, because I didn't want to work for anyone. And that was because I felt, and this is, I don't know why, I felt that I was never appreciated in the workplace. I felt like I would always work really hard and people would get outshined and there was favoritism. You know, reality, I probably wasn't a very good worker, but there was that. And then I wanted to start the kickboxing gym because our sort of slogan is a new generation of kickboxing. And a lot of people think that boxing and kickboxing has to be very rough. You have to get hurt all the time and it's almost dangerous. And we wanted to change that notion. So we wanted to create a facility that was really passionate about developing people, about creating a good mindset and about teaching them in the correct way.
Yeah, definitely. And what has, because it sounds like, you know, with the Facebook ad side of things, you almost got forced into learning about them, and sure, you knew about them, they were cool and hip, like we said, they still are because they're still being pushed out there. But when did you start realizing that actually the online marketing side of things was going to be such an asset to your business?
I think it was when, so we launched like a 4-week beginner course, and this was a Facebook ad with ClickFunnels, a little landing page. And it was I remember the first day I woke up and I looked at the stats and we'd made, I think it was 20 quid, but you know, this was overnight. I woke up and seen the money and I was like, this is cool. And that got me really excited. And so that's why we've stuck with that since.
Yeah. And is that the only strategy you're using, or have you utilized others?
Well, we've gone old school with the leaflet in, gone around to local businesses, Google PPC, but we found that for us, Facebook ads have always been the best way to do it.
What sort of hurdles have you come up against for finding new members? Because the gym space, you know, I had a gym owner on the other day as well. It's a super busy environment, very noisy space, very competitive in terms of pricing and all those other areas. So how have you set yourself apart, other than the fact that, you know, you're focused on the kickboxing niche, which is easy thing to set yourself apart anyway?
It was the personable side of it. So every single person in the gym that we've ever interviewed or got a testimonial off have said that it's the people that make the difference. And so we sort of pride ourselves on the individuals that we bring in, or the individuals that we attract. Yeah. And to be honest, we don't talk much about the actual kickboxing side. We talk more about the people in the gym and how they feel, and that tends to do it for us.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things, isn't it, that actually you start building that community, start building that trust, start building that environment where people want to come to, rather than see it as, you know, like your pure gyms, your Fitness First, all that kind of places. They're often seen as a chore to go there. You know, it's I have to go to the gym today. I have to do this. And by the sounds of it, you're, and actually this is something I'm seeing a lot in terms of gym owners and that sort of businesses, is that you're changing the language people are using to come to you. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing that a lot in terms of the different clientele you're getting as well? Yeah,
definitely. I think that, of course, commercial gyms have their place, but I think the industry as a whole is changing, and people want that. They want that community. Yeah. They want that one-to-one interaction, and they want to learn from a more personal brand, I find. These days, and I think that is one of our biggest assets at the moment, is the personal brand that we've got.
Yeah, for sure. Have you started hiring? Because you're a year in.
Yeah, so we had up to 5 members of staff at one point.
Wow.
We progressed really quickly. We went from, you know, £100 a month, 500, 1,000, 2, 3, 4, and it just went up and up and up and up. And of course, at 23 and naive, I got really excited and started hiring all the people to do all the things. And then come summertime, we had a big dip. We went from, you know, we lost probably 50% of our recurring income per month, which is huge. Because we'd started around January time, everyone's excited. And then, of course, people will dip off. And we'd done a lot of things wrong as well. So I had to sack someone as well. Of course, one of the shareholders left, and that was a big hit. But now there is 3 of us, myself and 2 others. And it's been like that for the last couple of months, and it's been really good.
Yeah. How did that go? How did that feeling go when, you know, your shareholder, your business partner left? You had to change things. You had to not step up so much, but you had to adapt, right? So how did that go in terms of, because by the sounds of it, you've had a very busy year. You know, you kick off in Jan, first 6 weeks, not great. Get on Facebook ads, really great. Summer comes, not great. Now after that, your business partner's like, right, I'm leaving. Like, unlucky year perhaps in the first year, but it's also a great lesson, isn't it? But how did you handle that? Talk me through that process.
I think the biggest thing that I learned from that was it forced me to realize that you don't have to do everything at once. That there are just a few things that you need to focus on. And at the time, I was using him as leverage, that he would teach some classes and I would do all of the other things to try and grow. When in fact, the most valuable thing I could be doing was being there and interacting with, with our customers. And so I think, the lesson of understanding this, that you don't have to do everything at once, that just doing a couple of things at a time and not having all the people to work for you, and sort of going from there.
You mentioned it a lot in terms of like naivety. This time last year, or let's say this time, because you started last January, right? So
we officially opened, around January. Yeah.
So let's say November 2018, and we took yourself back there. What would you do differently?
That's a really good question. So I'd be in two minds about it. I think I would maybe have taken a lot less risk and gone for the whole approach of renting out a leisure centre hall and doing it that way. But I think the growth would have been a lot slower. Had I had still taken, the gym out and done all these things, I would have spent a lot more time. It's a really good question. I think I would have spent a lot more time finding people that do what I wanted to do and following them a bit closer.
Okay.
I think that would be the most
finding did you have mentors before, or did you find mentors afterwards?
There was people. I wouldn't say mentors as such. I would say there was coaches that I followed. There were individuals that I followed. Quite closely, but not sort of mentorship as such.
So perhaps that's something that you could have done. But it's one of those things, right? And it is a really good question. I always love asking it, because it's, if you did do anything differently, we don't know if you would still be in the place you're at now, right? And that's one of the weirdest things I always find when looking back on things. We should have done Facebook ads 2 weeks before launch and all this kind of stuff. You go, but then, to be honest, you probably wouldn't have learned how you did learn and do all those sort of things, which is a great thing. For you, where do you want this to go? Where do you want this brand to go? Where do you want to be? Classic question. Where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Actually, let's crack that. Where do you want to be in 3 years' time?
It's a great question, and I've not got total clarity around that yet. I think my original plan was to open a number of different gyms across the UK. But for me, I think brick and mortar is a lot tougher than it needs to be, or in comparison to an online business.
Sure.
So I'd love to move into having the first sort of online kickboxing academy.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think we will pursue. But for me personally, it is very much about the freedom side of it. And so now, for example, we can sit here and do this, and if I'm not feeling great one morning, I can sleep in. The little things like that. And I think that's always been the dream for me, is just to be in control of what I want to do and take charge of my own time management, really.
Yeah, definitely. And what have you learned most from your first year? Now you're moving on to that second year. We're in January again. You probably had an influx of business. What are you doing differently this year so that you're not having that 50% drop-off rate in the summer?
So I think the biggest thing I've learned is that no one does it on their own. I know it's cliche, you hear that, but it's so true that no one does this on their own. Members of my team, I could not have done this without them. I would not be where we are now. And having trust and allowing, you just have to let go of certain things and pass them on to people is super important if you want to grow. You can't do everything yourself. And so I think that would be the biggest piece of advice, was that you need people around you to help, and you have to trust that they will do what you need them to, because no one wants to do a bad job naturally. Yeah,
totally. There's actually a question I put on Facebook like literally half an hour ago, saying, look, what do people want asked on these podcasts? And one of the first questions asked, and this is quite relevant to you, and especially because you did it so quickly, I think, it's like, when you hire the staff, what was the first thing or biggest thing that you considered?
So the consideration for me was, who do I believe will put in the most amount of effort? And they like to be totally transparent. Who will put the most amount of effort in, or who can I trust the most? that is willing to take a shorter amount of pay at the moment because they understand the long-term vision and they know that they will be rewarded in the long term. And so for me, that was my best friend who jumped in, again, a very, very low pay grade. And as the business has grown, he's had more and more money and he now has shares in the business.
Nice.
And his now girlfriend also works for us as well. And it was the exact same situation there where she started on a very low wage. I explained what we're about, what we want to do. And it's gone up and up and up from there.
Yeah. So making sure that you're finding people that are investing in your mission.
Yeah. People that have the same values as you, understand the mission. And that, definitely that.
And so when you were hiring, is that the first place you looked? So you looked to friends and family first, or did you go complete stranger with that route?
No, I stayed internal. For me, it was more the individual than the skills. I felt like the skills can be developed, but I needed to know the person well.
Yeah, exactly. For you, when you started this, was this an obvious route for you to go down? You know, having the gym, hiring the staff, hiring your friends. Was that obvious, or for you, was it more of a let's see what happens, let's wing it?
Yeah, it was very, very much, let's just go for it. I don't know where it came from. It was, finishing university with a degree in computer science and artificial intelligence. My parents were saying, you can get a job earning X amount doing this and that.
Yeah.
And there's me saying, no, I'm going to own a kickboxing gym. It's not the normal thing to do. But it was, again, it was more about the freedom. And I felt like it would give me the chance to do whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
So, again, it wasn't an obvious route. I still don't know how it all happened because I was never meant to be a kickboxing coach in the first place.
Yeah.
But, I think you'd appreciate it as well, where stuff just happens and you just you got to go with it sometimes.
Exactly. But you've had some like huge wins as well, haven't you? Because on the questionnaire that I sent to all my guests, you were saying that, what is it? You won someone's won a national title.
Yeah, so I've won 2 British championships in full contact and like continuous kickboxing. I've trained about a dozen national champions and a couple of guys who were on Team GB as well.
Amazing.
So,
and how did that come about? How did these people get into your gym? How did they find you?
Good question again. Some of them again just fell into it. So the coaches, like I say, the 2 people that work for me are both British champions.
Yeah.
So one of them has only been training since we've opened.
Mm-hmm.
He's won 2 British titles and is also part of Team GB. So I think immersion is the most important point for that, where if you want to get good at something very quick, you need to be fully immersed in it. It needs to be everywhere.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why they've done so well. Sorry, I know that's not the question.
No, it has.
I'm trying to roll off into an answer.
No, it just shows that how you're training and how you're running the business, right? Which actually brings me on to a really nice question, because I really love that immersive atmosphere to learn and to gain new skills. It's personally, I do believe that it's one of the best atmospheres you can put yourself into. It doesn't work for everyone. Some people find it quite overwhelming. Everyone needs to find whatever works for them. But for you as a founder, how are you now putting that like founder business hat on, and what are you doing to make sure that you as a founder is continually growing and like gaining your own knowledge up?
So for me, I've recently invested into a coach. I think that there does come a time where you need to, again, back against the wall, being held accountable. I think that being totally transparent with your staff is super important. So as a founder, people look up to you and expect you to know everything.
Yeah.
And you've explaining that you don't know everything, and there's a lot of things that I'm not good at, and being totally transparent with that and trying to work on them. And I think that being brutally honest with yourself is one of the most important things you can do as well. So the things that I'm not good at, I have to actively write down and sort of discuss it with myself. Is this something that I want to work on? If it's not, and you can pay someone else, fine. But if it's something that's important, then really appreciating that you've got to work on things as well.
How do you come to that realization when you're trying to figure out what you're not good at? How do you work that out?
In terms of the gym, it's normally I will try and do something for a period of time. I'll create a system, and if it's something that I don't enjoy doing, I tend to pass it on. Things like organization, I'm terrible at. Sales are my strong point. But again, I think that you come to realize quite quickly when you take out a big loan and you move, you sort of jump in the deep end, what you're good at and what you're not good at.
Yeah, exactly. And for you, it's is this like one of those businesses where you can foresee it really evolving and being around for years and years and years? Or do you think it will be something where you have a few sites and then you move to that fully online platform like you were saying earlier?
I think the brand will definitely survive for a long time. We've got big plans for Evolution as a brand. In terms of the physical brick and mortar gym, this is a stepping stone for us to start and get to where we need to be. So, maybe in the future we could have this location forever, but this is definitely just the first step for us.
It's working now, right?
Yeah. We're still here.
Yeah. You said something earlier about, hiring a coach and going down that road. Why is that so important for you to do? Why is that having that person in your business or in your life? Why is that vital for you?
I think that for me, I wanted to find someone that lived the life that I wanted to live, and it's very easy to say that you're going to do it yourself, but if someone's been there and they've done it and they've made the mistakes and they've spent the money, then it is a lot easier to just get the advice off them and learn from them. And I think that it takes humility and it takes being humble to appreciate that, as opposed to thinking you can do everything.
Massively. It's one of those things where, especially with coaching or mentoring or in fact your whole journey, it's one of those things where you don't really know until you do it, right? You can predict as much as you want, you can assume, you can read as many books, you can watch as many YouTube videos about, hey, I set up this gym and did all this, but until you're in it, until you're doing that day to day and dealing with the clients and having that mental space of going, oh my God, we're 6 weeks in and nothing's happened, and you're still rocking up at the gym every day and making yourself being forced through those crap times, let's put it lightly. I'm sure it wasn't a nice feeling of you opening up the gym every day and sort of just being like, okay, yeah, maybe my parents were right. I should have done something with that degree and gone and worked for whoever. I hope now that they're going, oh, okay, no, you made a good choice, Luke. You made a good choice.
I tend not to speak to them about it now, to be honest. Yeah, I keep the family and the business separate.
Yeah,
because there's always an argument to be had somewhere. My parents are warriors, and I like to go up in the gym, and my dad's it's the end of the world. So they don't know anything. I keep it away from them now.
They just care about you. That's it. That's what you got to remember.
Exactly.
That's what you got to remember. So I ask everyone, I know we're quite short on time with you, but I ask everyone, if someone was in your shoes, they wanted to start a gym, or they wanted to start I think a brick and mortar business is quite a good way to put it, because everything you've learned, a lot of other brick and mortar businesses are going to be quite similar. But what are like 3 things that anyone that is doing that can learn from your mistakes or from your learning?
I think the first thing is that there's a lot you can do to minimize the risks. You don't have to go in and buy a big building straight away. You can start small and test the market to see if there is something of value there. I think that is one of the biggest things that we learned. Number 2, you're going to have to advertise and market effectively.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, and I think the third thing is that if you are good at what you do and you can play it out, eventually people will come, but you have to be good at it. I think the best example is, let's say Grant Cardone puts on an event in 2 weeks in Cardiff. He could do no advertising, but as soon as one person finds out, that event's going to be full because he knows his stuff. Yeah. So I think that's important also. So
getting yourself in that position as well.
Yeah, being that, the whole key person of influence.
Yeah. The old Daniel
That's really important. Yeah.
I think that's a really valid point, actually, because a lot of people don't appreciate how their positioning can influence others, and how actually if you build, what is it? Is it Daniel that says that, have 1,000 raving fans and you'll be all right?
That's it.
Yeah, and it is about building that fan base up now, and I think that's a huge thing that's changed in the last but more like 5-6 years in terms of how to run a business. Because especially, and this is a really good one for bricks and mortar, because I've met a few bricks and mortar business around in my town, and a lot of them are very in that old way of thinking in terms of like, oh no, we're on the high street, people are walking past, obviously they're coming and buy from me, and you're just thinking, that doesn't really work like that anymore, because everything in your shop, I know it's slightly different for you, but everything in the shop I can get from Amazon, right? Although I suppose now, with the amount of online fitness coming out, that's sort of like the equivalent to a bricks and mortar gym, having that, oh, why should I go to the gym when I can do it in my living room and watch a video and speak to a coach every week? But it's that, back to that positioning in terms of, you know, Luke Thomas and the Evolution Kickboxing Academy. I really like the word academy, by the way. It's really nice.
Thank you.
But positioning that in the marketplace so that you are still around in 5, 6, 7 years, however much you've evolved from the place that you're in now, right?
Yeah, and I think to your point there as well, understanding very early on that people have no right to care about you. They don't, you know, don't assume that people will care about anything you do as a business, because they have no reason to. People care about one thing, and that's themselves, you know, themselves. As much as we like to say that we care about others and we do things for others, we always will do things for ourselves. And the sooner that we can understand that as business owners, the sooner we can start to do things for these customers that we bring them in.
That's such a great point, because again, I've seen it a lot where someone starts a business and they go, oh, don't worry, you know, my friends and family are going to share this, or the local community down the road, they're on board, and you're just thinking, you're just not setting yourself up for failure, but you're setting yourself up for some massive lessons. But if you go in without that emotional attachment, I think maybe is the right word, to those sorts of folk. Obviously, you're emotionally attached to your clients because you want to build that human connection, you know, that bond with them. But you're right, no one owes you a thing. Actually, I saw just a little tangent here, but I saw a really great post that I want to get, and it's like the Monopoly man, and he goes, rent's due, you know, you need to work. And I think that's such a good analogy. Probably not the best wording for it, but it's such a good analogy to be like, actually, if you want what you want, you need to do it yourself. You need to get out there and do it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the other thing is that you can actually mess up a lot. There's a lot that you can do wrong as long as you do some small things right. So, for example, when we're training our customers, we put everything into that.
Yeah.
And as a result, we do make a lot of mistakes on the business side, but they are very understanding, because the primary reason they're there is to get world-class training. And as long as they get that and they feel good when they leave, the rest can wait.
Yeah.
And I know that sorry?
So it's like when people just say don't sweat it, right? It's like, I have a client that I always remind them they're like a comedy business, and we always say it's like, you're not doing brain surgery, right? You're not saving lives. It's just comedy. That's it.
No, exactly. You know, we've done some, in my eyes, some terrible things where we've taken money out of people's accounts by mistake as a direct debit when it should have been cancelled. Things like that. If you were to do that as a commercial gym, they'd be straight down there and complaining. But because it's us and because we've got that personal relationship, people, they're pretty chilled out. So you can make a lot of mistakes as long as you get that one thing right.
Exactly. And also acknowledging it, like, and not acknowledging those mistakes, speaking with the customers, speaking with your clients, talking them through, look, hey, sorry, we didn't mean to make that happen. Don't worry, we've reversed it. It'll be in your account. But, okay, cool, no worries. It's a lot of that acknowledgement in terms of self, like you said earlier, in terms of like, oh, what am I good at? What am I bad at? That's a huge factor in terms of a founder's journey. And it's one that is always going to be on, right? There's always going to be new things to acknowledge and new things to learn and new things to evolve. Nice, dude. Listen, one last question. What's one of the biggest things you've got planned for this year?
That's a really, really good question. In terms of goals, or?
Yeah, in terms of goals, what's the biggest thing you're going to achieve this year?
So what I'd like to achieve this year is I'd like to earn enough that I could pay my parents' mortgage off.
Nice.
That's the aim this year.
That's amazing.
You're going to
you definitely have to bring up the business when you have that conversation there. Hey, I've just got this massive lump of money that I'm going to give you. Where did it come from?
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it.
Yeah. No, but listen, Luke, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people get in touch with you? Because you have such a great story that I feel like people want to speak to you. Cool,
thank you, man. I think the best place to go is probably my Instagram, which is Luke Tom Kickboxing. So that's Luke TH0M and then Kickboxing, and you should be able to find me on there.
Perfect, man. Thank you for coming on Founders365. You have been guest number 16. I've been Steven Haggerty. Thanks everyone for watching and for listening.